So obviously after the last match, Mortician had a bit of a rebuild cycle ahead of it to fix the damage. Okay. So we had the electronic issues to deal with the burned up speed controller. We had some physical issues to deal with first. So one of the things was that area of the frame right here that had been damaged. So we had a big hole in that area there that we had to just basically use a little angle grinder and cut that piece of tubing out, cut it away from the supports for the bottom armor, weld in a new piece there. There wasn't any other, the welds all held, there wasn't any other welds that were cracked, but there was also where the weapon pin goes through the bottom plate, we had a big enough hit there that it actually sort of opened that hole up a little bit. And the weapon was sort of just flopping around in there. So I had to kind of weld that up and do a little dremeling in there to get that back to where I had something that worked to go into this next match. So the physical structure, we had a lot of work to do there. Once that was all done, then we had to deal with the electronics. Okay? So we didn't lose any of the motors. All the motors worked just fine, but we ended up burning up a speed controller. So we had the two drive speed controllers here. The one of the drive speed controllers burned up, and so we had to replace that. And unfortunately, where the wire for the sensor for the speed controller comes in, when that caught on fire, it basically caught everything on fire. It burned up with some of the other stuff that was in here. So we did have to replace the drive motor on that side, not because there was damage to the drive motor, but because there was damage to its sensor wire. So we had a heck of a rebuild cycle to get this thing all back together. And then when we finally got it all assembled, we had an opportunity to get it into the arena to do a test drive and a test spin, right? Well, in the process of re-hooking everything back up, when we tested it, we had left and right side mixed up. So it would drive forward and backward, but when you tried to turn it, it would turn opposite of what it was. So we got it all together, we got it in the arena, we got it spun up, and now I had to pull it all back out and reprogram all the speed controllers to get everything working again. So we did finally get everything functional before we went into this third match against BMF.
Test earlier, though. They did test some things out, and they were working.
Yeah.
So hopefully there is not a cock flop this time.
Yeah.
Or else they'll end up on Corncob TV. All right. 3, 2, 1, go!
Oh, no. Mortician's having problems.
Trying to get that weapon spun all the way up.
Yeah, and it's not cooperating.
It's not speeding up as much as they probably want. Playing a game of keep away while it tries to get up to speed.
Okay.
BMF
He's getting a little
would
room
be
backing
smart
up.
to close that gap.
Yeah, BMF's not doing it. Yeah, there you go.
Ooh,
Get
even
on
from
him.
underneath, got some sparks flying. There you go.
Okay.
Those are some hits. The weapon is up and going now. Mortician just trying to line up for any of those big hits. BMF not afraid to shove his nose right in his face, flips him over, and he's into the arena wall. Oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh, that was fabulous. You know what this means.
And that will do it. Mortician buried inside the wall.
Mortician is the first robot in the new RoboGames arena to be thrown out of the arena.
So the end of that match didn't exactly go the way any of us wanted. When Justin goes in for a hit, he usually turns the weapon off before we go into the hit to try to minimize damage to some of the weapon drive system. And so he did turn the weapon off as that impact happened, and then he got kicked up on the rail. Okay. So it's up on the rail. Weapon is up there next to the arena wall, and we could have turned the weapon on to knock ourselves back into the arena, but they didn't want us to turn the weapon on to chew into the Lexan of the arena, which makes sense. But then they didn't count that as an unstick to set it back on the arena floor so we could continue fighting. So at the time, it actually felt kind of like we'd been shortchanged a little bit in that regard. So they wouldn't put us on the arena floor, and they wouldn't let us put ourselves back on the arena floor. When I got out into the arena when the match was over and they called us knocked out, the reality is it was kind of wedged between the arena rail and the wall, where the bolts come through the top for the mounting the battery box. That was wedged into the arena rail, and that was wedged up against the wall. So it wouldn't have been as simple as just turning the weapon on and knocking ourselves off. It still might have worked, but we'd have probably chewed the crap out of the Lexan to do that. So I still think the right call would have been to set us on the floor, but I can't really argue how this went. And the two robots that Mortician lost to were Copyright Infringement and BMF, which went 1 and 2. That was the gold and silver medal winners in the tournament. So super high quality opponents that deserved their wins. So this right here was where we had a weapon-to-weapon hit against BMF, kind of vaporized a little piece of that. So not a whole lot of damage to our weapon. It actually did bend the AR disc on BMF, so that was actually a pretty good hit. And then they managed to chew up quite a bit of the tire. This was the part that was wedged up against the arena Lexan, and so it was sort of pinched between the bolt on the top and here, which is why you couldn't just pop out real quick and easy. We got a few little love taps in a few different spots around the outside of the robot. But in general, the structure of the robot survived really well. And 100% functional. Everything still works. So the drive, the weapon, everything still works exactly as it's supposed to. So even though we didn't maybe get the wins I was after, I think that the rebuild and setup on this robot was actually pretty successful. We got a lot of great results out of all of those things. So this was Mortician for RoboGames. It's at some point in time we'll probably take it all the way down completely and see if we have any further damage inside. So probably one more video on this, and then get ready for next year. We'll try to rebuild it again and get all set to go back and get one of those medals.